So back with our Vinyasa for the throat chakra. So it's Vishuddhi Chakra and the colour is blue. And the element of this chakra is space. And we like to know the proprioception of where we are in space in yoga. So it's a great thing to have an element of, because we can find out where our bodies are and really think about how our bodies move. We're going to be concentrating a lot around the neck today. So we'll be doing lots of head and neck rolls and movements and supporting and finding alignment through that neck so it's nicely in line with the spine. So I'll be really concentrating on those points. So the Vishuddhi Chakra is actually the communication base. It's our creator of sound. But it's also about hearing as well, because the chakra actually covers the neck, the throat, the tongue, the ears. So it's the thyroid gland that we work on here. Quite often when this is out of function and not working very well, it gives us the inability to express ourselves. It's a lack of stillness within the body, blocked creativity, and quite often the physical elements can be sore throats, tinnitus, hearing issues, asthma. But when you're in line and you're really good at being the communicator rather than the masked self, what I've just explained, it can be that your speaking voice is very clear. So we have a lot of clarity and we can be very expressive and express ourselves well. And what comes out of our mouths is very sincere. So as a communicator, a good communicator, these are the bonuses. So we're going to get on with the practice. So remembering the colour blue, the space element, and the fact that this is all about sound, communication, and trying to get that space nice and clear. So by moving the heads around in different directions can help the muscles in that neck to make that voice grow stronger. What I am going to do as well today is I'm going to open class with an opening chant, because with it being the throat chakra, quite often this can actually help with strengthening the voice box, singing, doing any kind of mantras. So come into an easy seated position, whether that be on a block or whether it be just sitting on the mat. If you're on a block, it just elevates the hips slightly, so it allows you to cross the legs better, and it allows you to sit that spine nice and tall without rolling through the lower part of the back. Just place the hands on top of the thighs, take a close of the eyes, take a nice long deep breath in through the nose, and a long sigh out through the mouth. Take another breath like that, in through the nose, out through the mouth, and again in through the nose, and then on the out breath try and make it a little raspy out through the mouth. Grow tall through the spine and relax through the shoulders. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Punaktu Savinyam Karavavahai Tejasvinam Vadidamastu Marvidvish Avahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Take a breath in, bring the hands up and over the head, bring the palms together at the top and take an opening of the eyes. Bring your left hand down to the floor, tent the fingers and reach over with that right hand towards the left side. Try and keep that right sit bone grounded on the block or on the floor if you're seated straight onto the mat. Reach and lengthen through that right side. Try and keep that head in line with the spine as you do so. So try not to let that head drop down. Keep it in one long line from the crown to the tailbone. Then bring that hand back up to meet that right hand, and then bring your right hand down. Tent the fingers, reach over with your left hand. Again, try and keep that neck in line with the spine. Reach as much as you can through that left hand and stretch that left side of the waist, keeping grounded through that left sit bone. Then come back to the center, reach back up with that right hand, and then let those hands come down to the tops of the thighs. Take a roll of the shoulders up towards the ears, back down towards the hips. Take a tuck of the chin in towards the chest, feeling the stretch through the back of the neck and the contraction through the throat. Tuck it in as close as you can take it. And then your next breath in, raise that head, raise the gaze, raise the chin, stretching the front side of the neck, contracting the back of the neck. Try and stay tall through that spine. Try not to arch that lower back. Draw the belly back and keep strong in that center of the body. Bring the head back to the center, then take a gaze towards your left side. Try and keep the shoulders facing forward so the turn comes through the neck. So we're taking that rotation of the cervical spine around the neck and the throat. Bring that head back into center, and then take that head turn towards the other side, the right side. Again, tautness through the spine, relax through the shoulders, rotation through the neck and the throat. Bring that head back to the center, this time taking your left ear to the left shoulder. Stretch down that right side of the neck, and then take that left hand and bring that left hand onto the side of the head, and maybe just encourage that head a little closer towards that shoulder. Reach that right hand out to the side. Turn the palm, maybe raise or lower that hand. Find that good stretch down that right side of the neck. Then bringing that right hand back to the thigh, lift up the head. This time take the head over to your right shoulder, right ear to right shoulder. Bring your right hand onto the head, encourage it a little closer. If this doesn't feel comfortable, just let the head allow to hang on its own. And then reach out with that left hand, maybe turn the palm, maybe lift the arm. Find that stretch a little more down that left side of the neck. Then bring that left hand back to the thigh, lift that head back into the center, bring the chin back into the chest, and then roll one side and then through the center and roll back to the other. I don't take full neck rolls, it's not comfortable for my neck, but if you wish to take the full circular with the head, feel free to do so, or just do these half rolls, one side to the other. Notice how that neck feels. And then bring that head back into the center, lift the head to stack over the spine, and start to take a couple of long deep breaths in through the nose and out through the nose if you can. Try and connect that Ujjayi breath, that slow audible sound to you. So you should feel like you have a sound of the ocean in the back of the throat, the back of the nose. And try and keep that connection to that Ujjayi breath all the way through practice, that heating of the internal body. And if you need to throughout the practice, bring your mind to that space of the throat, thinking of the colour blue. And that slight audible sound which will help you move through your practice. Coming now onto your knees. So remove any blocks if you have blocks. And bring yourself into a child's pose position. So widen the knees. Now I'm just getting you to bring a block just underneath the head for this one. So we have our head in support. And as you can see, that head will be aligned with the spine as we bring the sit bones to the heels and the arms forward. So we're trying not to let that head drop. Each out breath, feel those sit bones relaxing a little more towards those heels. Try and relax through those shoulders. Take a turn of the head to the right and just bring that left temple onto the top of that block. And then bring that head back through center, bringing that right temple onto the block. And just let the head be heavy, be supported in this space. Bring the head back to the center, forehead back to the block. And just take those Ujjayi breaths, those slight audible sounds in the back of the throat. Keep connecting to that space. That audible sound will bring your focus to that chakra of the throat, the Vishuddhi Chakra. Keep encouraging those sit bones back towards those heels. It doesn't mean they have to reach, but an intention to get there. And then coming up onto your hands and knees. And bring that block now just underneath the face, so it's aligned for when we come into our thread the needle to bring that ear to that block. Right hand lifts, send it up to the ceiling, open the chest to that right side, and then thread that right hand in between the left hand and the left knee, bringing that right ear to the block, so we've got a little support through that neck, so that head isn't hanging down towards the floor. Left hand is supporting, so we're not putting too much pressure on that neck. And we're pushing into that right forearm to try and encourage a little more twist. Even out both knee weights, so you can feel as much weight in that left knee as you can in the right. And try and find that rotation from the waist and the turn of the shoulders to support through the neck. Hold it here just for one more breath. Then push into that left hand, raise the right hand back up to the ceiling, twist the chest to the right, then bring that right hand back down to meet the left. Same on the left side, reach up and lift, open the chest to the left side of the room, and then thread that left hand in between the right hand and the right knee, bring that left ear this time down to the mat, and push into that right hand, turn and twist from the waist. Put the weight back into that right knee if it started to move a little more over to the left. Squeeze and push that right hand into the mat. Squeeze and push that left forearm into the mat to create a little more twist. Keep connecting that Ujjayi breath, that slight audible sound in the back of the throat of that throat chakra. Then push into that right hand, raise that left hand back up to the ceiling. Turn and twist to the left. Bring that left hand down to meet the right. Remove the block from under the face, remove it to the side. And we're going to take a few rounds of cat-cow, but we're holding it in both positions. So breath in, we lift up the head, we lift up the bum, we let the belly drop. And just try and let the front of that throat stretch and the back of the neck contract, but squeeze those shoulders back towards those hips. Maybe open the mouth nice and wide. And then close that mouth. Feel that stretch a little more in that neck. And then tuck that chin in towards the chest. Start to tuck the tailbone under. The centre of the spine lifts up to the ceiling. Squeeze that chin in as much as you can in towards that throat.
And feel that stretch down the back of the neck. Push into the hands, push into the tops of the feet. Feel that grounding and support at the base, into that floor. Your next breath in, take it back to the opposite direction. Lift up the head, lift up the bum, stretch the front side of the body. Stretch through the neck, relax the shoulders back. Open the mouth wide. And then close that mouth. Feel that stretch around the jaw, around the throat. And then again, tuck that chin into the chest. The tailbone tucks down. And then we feel that stretch down the back of the body. Tuck the chin in a little further if you can into that neck. And then bring that body back to a tabletop position. Step both feet back to a plank. Shoulders over the heels of the hands. Heels push back, crown forward. Lift up the head a little, gaze forward a little further. And then tuck that chin into the chest as we hold this plank position. Again, stretching the back of the neck. Push into the hands, push the chest into that space between the shoulder blades. Squeeze the bum. Lift the kneecaps by engaging those thighs. Draw the belly back towards the spine. Nice support through that corset of the body. Then start to paddle the feet as you start to lift up those hips. Try not to play too much with the feet or the hands. Try and keep them where they are from that plank position to down dog. And then when you're happy to bring those heels to stillness, encourage them back towards the mat. They don't need to reach, just an intention to get there. And then take a gaze towards the toes. Then from the toes, take a gaze towards the knees. And then from the knees, take a gaze up towards those hips. Feeling that stretch through the back of the neck. Walk the feet off the mat. So we've got a wide leg, downward facing dog. And push that chest back a little further. Lift those hips a little higher. Shoulder blades back towards those hips. Grounding into the hands. Push into that index finger and thumb, little finger. And take that space out from underneath those palms. Take a couple of long, deep breaths in and out through the nose, connecting that Ujjayi breath, that slight ocean sound at the back of the throat. Hold it here just for one more breath. Then walk the feet back to our normal downward facing dog, being hip width apart. Then lift up your right leg. Take a bend into your right knee. Turn the hip of the right towards the right side of the room. Try and realign the shoulders so they're neutral. Then bring that right knee towards the outside edge of the right heel of the hand. Untuck the back toes. Take a hold of that right foot. Turn it internally underneath the body to 45 degrees less or more. Bring that left hand back down and hold it in this pigeon pose for a couple of breaths. So relax the shoulders back. Lift the chest. Tuck the hips down. Try and sink that left hip flexor as close towards that right heel as it will go. Then raise that head up towards the ceiling. Take the gaze up, stretch through the back of the stretch through the front of the throat, contract the back of the neck, and then bring that chin in towards the chest and stretch the back of the neck. All the time keeping long through that spine. Sinking into those hips. Then bring that head back to center. Take a turn of the head to the right shoulder. Bring it back through center and take a turn of the head to the left shoulder. All the time being aware of that Ujjayi breath, that slight audible sound at the back of the throat. Bring the head back into the middle. Bring your right ear towards that right shoulder, stretch down the left side of the neck. Then bring that head back to center, take the left ear to the left shoulder, stretch the right side of the neck. Bring that head back into the middle
And then just come down onto the forearms if you're happy to do so. And feel like you find that space where the head is 100% aligned to that spine. So you should be gazing just towards the center of the hands. And the head and crown comes tall. It feels like everything is aligned through those chakras from the crown of the head to the base of the spine. So thinking from the base of the spine, we're thinking of stability. Going into the center of the body between the pubic bone and the belly button, we think of creativity. From the belly button towards those rib cages, we're thinking strength. And from that rib cage up to the throat, we're thinking compassion. And then from the throat, we're thinking about our communication. Aligning those 5 chakras from the base of the spine to the throat. One more breath here. Then come up onto those hands. Tuck those back toes under. Lift that back knee. Send the right foot back to meet the left. Take a paddle of the feet. So we're still sticking with the right side here. Bring the heels to stillness, feet hip width apart. Raise the right leg again back up towards the ceiling. Take a bend in the knee, turn the hips out to the right. And then bring that knee into the chest. This time step that right foot through in between the hands and drop down onto that back knee and curl the toes. Raise the arms up, bring the shoulders over the hips. Then take the hands behind the back of the head, interlace the fingers, and then push that head into the hands, but resist with the hands. Tuck that tailbone under, draw that belly back, keep that center support. Try not to dump into that lower back. All the time strengthen the neck by pushing it into those hands. Try and lift through the chest, but don't flare through the ribs. Maybe the gaze is slightly up towards the ceiling. Just another breath here, activating into the floor with the feet for support. And then release the hands, bring your left hand down to the floor, tuck the back toes under and lift that back left knee. Take your right fingertips into the crease of the right hip and push that right hip back and try and bring the left hip forward. Then rotate from the waist, turn the shoulders and the gaze to the right side of the room. Then raise that right hand up to the ceiling. Drop that left ear towards that left shoulder. And then lift that head again. Find the alignment of the spine. So everything is in one long line. A rotation through this high lunge. Try and encourage that left heel back. Keep bent into that right knee. Keep the hips in line. So encouraging the right hip back and the left hip forward. Then gaze up towards that right thumb just to turn that neck in a slightly different angle, but keep it in line with the spine. Push into that left hand to help with the anchor for the twist. The right shoulder's stacking on top of the left. Then bring that right hand back down, step back to a plank and hold it in plank here for a couple of breaths. Support through the center of the body, support through the neck. Hold that head in one long line. And then allow that head to drop. Take a gaze back towards the toes. Stretch the back of those necks. Then bring that head back in line with the spine. Have that proprioception of where that head is in space. Then slowly release to the floor, either dropping the knees or straight bodies, remembering to turn the creases of the elbows forward as you release yourself all the way to the floor. Take an untuck of the toes, come up onto the forearms, bring the elbows underneath the shoulders, lift up the chest, push the pubic bone into the mat, the toes into the floor, gaze forward, relax the shoulders. Then lift that gaze up towards the ceiling, stretching the front of that neck.
Then bring that head in, chin to chest, stretching through the back of the neck. Come back to a center point. Take a turn of the head to the right. Rotation on that cervical spine, having done flexion and extension. And then bring that head back through center, over to the left side. All the time pushing into those hips. Bring the head back to the middle. Bring the chest back down to the floor. Bring the hands by the side of the chest, tuck under the toes. Bring the chest back to the thighs. Then push into those hands and feet as you lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. Take a gaze back towards the toes, then up towards the knees, and then up towards the hips. Hold it here for a couple of breaths, squeezing the heels back, connecting that Ujjayi breath, that slight audible sound in the back of the throat. Then release that tension through the neck. Raise this time your left leg up to the ceiling. Bend the knees, stack the hips. Try and keep the shoulders neutral. Right heel coming towards the floor. Then realign the hips. Bring your left knee to the outside edge of the left hand. Untuck the back toes. Take a hold of your left foot. Bring it internally and under the body by 45 degrees less or more. Sink those hips as low as they can go. Roll the shoulders back, lift up the chest. Try not to flare those ribs. Keep that engagement through the center of the body and protect those backs. Gaze then up towards the ceiling. Stretch through the neck. Then bring that chin in towards the chest and stretch the back of the neck. Bring that head back to center. Take a turn of the head in one direction, over to the right maybe first. Then take a turn of the head to the left. Bring the head back to center. Right ear to right shoulder. Back to the center. Left ear to left shoulder, lateral flexion through that cervical spine. Bring that head back to center. Then maybe come down onto the forearms if you're happy to do so. And think about stabilizing the body. So we're rooting into the floor. Stabilization through the first root chakra. And we're trying to find a little bit of fluidity to find that deeper range of movement, working with that second chakra. The strength is to hold yourself in the pose, that third chakra. And the fourth chakra is about compassion and love. So if something doesn't feel right, adjust and find a better space. Then coming up to that upper chakra, that communication chakra where everything links and talks to each other in the body. Being aware of where that body is in space through our senses. One more breath here. Then coming back up onto your hands. Tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee. Send that left foot back to meet the right to find our downward facing dog position. So same left side, raise that left leg again back up to the ceiling, bend the knees, stack up with the hips, then realign the hips, bring the left knee into the chest, gaze in between the hands as you step that left foot through. Drop down the back knee and uncurl the toes, raise the arms to come up to your low lunge position, then bring the hands by interlacing the fingers to the back of the head. Push the head into the hands, but resist with the hands. Tuck the tailbone under. Try not to flare the lower ribs, but raise up through that chest. So we get some thoracic extension here. If you flare the ribs, you just dump into the back. If you hold those hips nice and supported, we create some space in the lumbar spine, but open up through the chest and create extension through the thoracic part of the spine. Strengthening the cervical spine as we push that head into the hands and the hands resist.
One more breath here. And then release the hands, bring the right hand down to the floor. Take the left fingertips into the crease of the hip, tuck the back toes under, send the left hip back, right hip forward, and stay bent into that front left knee. Then raise that left hand up to the ceiling. The right hand is an anchor to twist. Then let that head drop towards that right shoulder. Then find that alignment back in the neck. Head in a nice long line. Maybe then gaze up towards that left hand and find that slight turn of the neck. Keep pushing into both feet. Find that stability to the floor. Keep using that right hand as a support and an anchor to twist. Try not to drop too much into that right hip. Then bring that left hand down and step that foot back into a plank position, holding it in plank for a couple of breaths. Head coming forward, and we're gazing just in front of the hands so the head's in one long line. We push the hands into the floor, chest cavity pushes into that space between the shoulder blades. Heels back. Support that center of the body. And then with control, either dropping the knees or straight bodies, bring those bodies all the way down to the mat. Take an untuck of the toes. Bring the hands behind you. Have the hands pointing into the thighs. Your breath in, we lift up the chin, we lift up the chest. Gaze forward, roll the shoulders back. Feel that stretch through the neck. Then maybe raise the hands away from the floor. Maybe raise the feet away from the mat. So by stretching that neck, it gives some space in that throat. Keeping that Ujjayi breath going, that slight raspy sound, that ocean sound in the back of the throat. In and out through the nose, not using the mouth if you can. Warming that body up with that Ujjayi breath. One more breath here. Then release down the feet, bring the hands either side of the chest. Tuck under the toes, bring the chest back towards those thighs. Push into those hands and feet as we lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. Maybe take a paddle through those feet and a nod and shake of those heads. Take a gaze back towards the toes, then towards the knees, then up towards those hips. Then release the tension in the neck. Give that head a nod and a shake. Take a long breath in through the nose. This time a long sigh out through the mouth, sticking the tongue out. In through the nose. Long sigh out through the mouth, sticking the tongue out. And again, in through the nose. Take it back to your nasal breathing, in and out through the nose with that slight restriction at the back of the throat. Your next breath in, we raise up with that right leg. Squeeze that left heel to the floor, bend the right knee, push the right foot to the left, turn the hips to the right. Neutralize the shoulders. Then realign the hips, bring the right foot in between those hands. Take a hold of your books or blocks, bring that block to the inside of that right foot, drop the back heel, right hand stays on top of the block. Then raise that left hand up to the ceiling, turn the chest and the hips to the left side of the mat. So let that head drop down, ear of the right towards the right shoulder, and send that left hand back towards the back of the room. Feel that stretch coming down the side of the left side of the neck, creating some space between the shoulder and the ear.
And then reach that left hand back up to the ceiling. Bring the head back in line with the spine. Then reach forward with that left hand, but try and let that left shoulder come back towards that left hip. Right knee stays bent. Right hand is the anchor either onto that block, or if you can reach the floor, feel free to bring that right hand to the mat. Again, have that proprioception of where that head is. Try and keep it in line with that body. One more breath here. And then raise that left hand again back up to the ceiling. Send the left hand back. Drop the right ear to the right shoulder. And feel that stretch again down that left side of the neck. One more breath here. Then raise that left hand back up to the ceiling. Bring your shoulders over the hips and straighten that front right leg. So we're going to take it into triangle pose now. So reach forward with that right hand. Bring the right hand down either onto the block or just to the side of that right leg. And then gaze up towards that left thumb if the neck is happy to do so. But think about where that head is in space. Maybe it's dropping down a little bit. Try and align it with the spine. Then turn the head towards that thumb. Push nice and strong into both feet. Create stability here. Try not to hyperextend through this right knee. Give it a little micro bend and allow those muscles to switch on. Tuck under with that right bum cheek and turn out with that left hip. Left shoulder stacks on top of the right, using the muscles through this neck to keep that head in one long line. One more breath here. Then reach that left hand forward towards the front of the mat, still keeping the head engaged and in line with that spine. Feeling a little more stretch down that left side of the body. One more breath here. Then release that left hand down. Take a bend into your right knee. Just move the block to the side for a moment. Step the right foot back to a plank. Hold it in plank for a couple of breaths. Widen the fingers, push into those palms. Push the heels back, crown forward. Keep the strength in the back of the neck to keep that head in line with the body. Squeeze the bum, activate the thighs, lift the kneecaps, draw the belly back. Then on your next out breath, slowly release to the floor. Take a breath in, lift up the chest. Come up into your upward facing dog or baby cobra if you wish. Try and send those shoulders back. Tuck those tailbones under, push the hips towards the floor. Keep the chin then into the chest. Then raise that head up towards the ceiling and stretch the front of the neck. Bring that chin back to center. Take a gaze towards the right side, keeping the shoulders facing forward. Bring the head back to the middle. Take a gaze then to the left. Head back to the center. Right ear to right shoulder. Head back into the middle. Left ear, left shoulder. Head back into the center. Release the chest back down. Tuck under the toes. Bring the chest back to the thighs. Push into the hands and feet as we lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. Take a gaze back towards the toes. Then towards the knees. Then up towards the hips. Then release the head, give the head a nod and a shake. Try and let go of any tension you're holding in that space. Then we're going to take exact same movements on the left side. So your breath in, raise the left leg. Take a bend into the left knee, stack the hips, push the left foot to the right, right heel towards the floor. Then realign the hips, bring the knee in towards the chest, gaze in between the hands as you step that foot through. Bring your block to the inside of that left foot, or your books if you're using books. Place the left hand on the block, drop the back heel, turn the shoulders, turn the hips. Raise the hands up to the ceiling. And then drop that left ear towards the left shoulder. And then reach that right hand back to the back of the room. And feel that space that's being created between the ear on the right side and the shoulder. Keep bent in that front left knee. Feel that long stretch. Then raise that right hand back to the ceiling. Bring that head back in line with the spine. Then reach forward with that right hand, keeping the head in line. Stretching down that right side of the body. Keep pushing energetically into both feet, sending some weight into that back foot. Left hand's an anchor onto the floor or a block. And we try and find that twist and opening through the body. Then bring that right hand again back up to the ceiling. Drop that left ear to the left shoulder and send that right hand back. Feel that space again being created between that ear and the shoulder. Then bring that head back in line. Bring that right hand back up to the ceiling. Then push into both feet, bring the shoulders over the hips, straighten that front left leg. Triangle pose on this side, reach forward with the left hand. Bring that left hand down either onto a block or the floor or to the inside of that left leg. Head in line and then turn that gaze up towards that right thumb. Keep that left bum cheek tucked under. Try and soften that left knee so it's not hyperextending. Have an idea of where that head is in space. Full proprioception of where the body is and how the body's being held. Gaze up towards that right thumb. Then reach forward with that right hand towards the front of the room. Feel that stretch down the right side of the waist. Down into that right thigh, into that right ankle. And then bring that right hand down. Remove the block, bend the front knee, step back into a plank position, holding it in plank for a couple of breaths. Heels back, crown forward. And then release down to the floor, your variation, maybe dropping the knees, turning the creases of the elbows, or a straight long line with the body. Push into the hands, lift up the chest, squeeze the shoulders back. Take a gaze to the right. Come back through center, gaze to the left. Back into center, bring the chin into the chest. Back to the center, raise that gaze to the ceiling. Back to the center. Right ear, right shoulder. And centered. Left ear, left shoulder. And back to center. Release the chest down, tuck under the toes. Bring the chest back to those thighs. Push into the hands and feet as you lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. So coming down onto your knees. So we do need to have a blanket here because we're going to take ourselves into a shoulder stand. So have the blanket folded. So we have a space for where the head's coming and our shoulders will be on that edge of the blanket. So just bring that a little bit forward because we're then going to take our feet back. If you're not happy with shoulder stand, you can always go up against a wall and just have your legs up straight so that you've got your feet higher than your heart to give your heart a break. If you're coming with me with shoulder stand, fold up that blanket. Bring the shoulders onto that blanket so they're just where the head can drop down onto the mat. So it just gives a little space in that neck. Then bring the knees in towards the chest. If you're not coming into shoulder stand, just send the feet up towards the ceiling and you don't need to necessarily use a blanket for that. If you're coming with me, push into the floor and then bring the hands to that lower spine. Keep the knees bent for a moment to stack up the body. And as you can feel in that neck, it's giving a little space for that neck to breathe. Then raise one leg up towards the ceiling and then the other, lifting those hips as much as you can, gazing up towards those toes. Try not to turn the head in one direction or the other. Try and keep it gazing upwards to protect that neck. Holding it here for as many breaths as you wish. Try and lifting those hips as high as you can. And then bend from the hips. Start to send the feet towards the back. Maybe the feet can touch the floor. Maybe they're off a little hover. Just go where your body can go to. If you wish, with the feet up high, you can either keep the feet up high or bring yourself to this plow pose all the time, feeling how the neck feels. If it doesn't feel comfortable, come out of the pose. Holding it in plow pose just for another couple of breaths. Then to come out, slowly bend both knees, release the hands to the floor and slowly curl back through that spine, bring the bums back to the mat. And when you've taken shoulder stand, the key is to go into what we call fish pose. So push it into the elbows, lift up the chest, then take the top of the head onto the mat. So the chest is expanding, the neck is going into the opposite direction to where it's just been held in shoulder stand. If you've just had the legs up the wall or just keeping the legs up straight and the neck hasn't been compromised, then you don't need to go into this fish pose. Just come out of those legs being raised whenever you're ready. Just holding it in fish for a few more breaths. The gaze is back to the back of the mat. The chest is lifted. We're lifted onto those elbows, but the bums are always on the floor. And then release those shoulders back down. Just bring the knees into the chest just for a breath. And then release those feet back to the mat. Then rock yourself up to seated. Then find yourself either sitting on a block if you wish, removing the blanket from around you. So the block comes in to bring those hips up a little higher. So we're going to take ourselves into Gomukhasana, which is quite challenging. If you can't find this, then just bring yourself into this cross-leg position. Elevated hips helps you cross the legs and keeps that lower back a little taller. If you're coming with me, I'm going to mirror image you. So bring your right foot underneath the left leg and bring the right foot to the outside of that left hip. Then bring the left foot over and bring your left foot to the outside of the right hip. Then just lift yourself away from the block, let the knees drop down, so one knee stacked on top of the other, and then bring those sit bones again back down onto the block. So we should find this position. Feet are at the side of the hips, opposite foot to opposite hip. The tall spine, remember if this isn't comfortable, just come into a cross-leg position. Roll the shoulders up towards the ears, back down towards the hips, then raise the hands up towards the ceiling. Take a bend into your left elbow and bring that left hand to the back of the neck. Then bring your right hand forward, turn the palm, bring it around the back so the back of the hand comes onto the back of the body. Either take a hold of clothing or find a grip of the fingers. So if you're in my position now, the hands will be feeling, so that left hand is here and the right hand is grabbing hold of those fingers. If they don't reach, just take a hold of clothing.
So keeping a hold in this position. So this is cow face arms. And when you've found that position with the legs crossed or in cow face legs, keep lifting tall through the spine. Keep the head in line with the spine. So try not to let this left arm push the head over. Try and send that left elbow back as far as you can. Feel that stretch through the hips. Long, easy breaths in, long breaths out. Just holding it here for another couple of breaths. Keep both sit bones grounded either onto a block or books or onto that mat. Then release the hands. Just give those shoulders and arms and hands a shake. And then uncross the legs. So this time taking your left foot under, bringing the left foot to the outside of the right hip, left knee in the center. Then take your right foot over that left leg, bringing your right foot then to the outside of that left hip. Take the bum away from the blocks, let the knees settle in a position. Remember, if you're in cross legs, just swap the legs over. And then find that comfortable seat on that block. Raise up this time with your right hand, and take that right hand behind the back of the neck. Bring your left hand forward, turn the palm, bring that left hand around the back so the back of the hand comes onto the back of the body, and then maybe find fingertips, or maybe you find clothing. Try not to arch that lower back and flare those ribs. Keep drawing the ribs back. So that right elbow is being encouraged back in line with the head's in line with the spine, not being pushed over with that right arm if you can, and just hold it in this position for a couple of breaths. Remember, this can be cross legs if you need to. We're more about working around those shoulders with those arms. Maybe close the eyes if that helps you connect internally, if it helps you have a better idea of how your body's stacked up. Just visualize your own spine, trying to think of it all being in one long line. Stability through the pelvis. Feeling that security through the center of the body. The strength to hold the pose. And if you're not feeling comfortable, knowing you have to use compassion to move yourself away from the pose and find something that's more comfortable for you. That Ujjayi breath, that rasping sound in the throat, that heat of the body be created by that Ujjayi breath. Then release the hands, give those hands a shake. And then bring both legs out in front of you. Maybe just give those legs a little bit of a paddle. Bring the feet in towards you. Let the knees drop out to the side. And take a hold of the feet here. Turning the soles of the feet up. Lifting up nice and tall through the spine. Then as you breathe out, fold over those legs. And just let that chin drop in towards the chest. Contracting through that throat, stretching through the back of the neck. Then bringing those shoulders over those hips. Take the gaze up towards the ceiling. Stretch the front side of the neck. And then bring that head back to center. Bring the left ear to the left shoulder. Back into center. Right ear to right shoulder. back into centre. Take a turn of the head to the left, back into centre. Take a turn of the head to the right and back to centre. Then making your way onto your hands and knees, removing the blocks, just placing the blocks at the side. Bring the knees out as wide as the mat. Then bring the feet in line with the knees. Then turn the feet out so the heel of the feet still stays in line with the knees. So we have that 90-degree angle. Maybe take the knees a little wider if you feel you've got that space. Now, without moving the hips forward, keep the hips in the line of the knees and just come down onto the forearms to find our frog position. So the more you come forward, the easier it will become. The more you stack those hips in between those knees, the more we'll get the stretch in the place where we need it to be. So we get into the inside of those groins. Try to stretch out maybe a little further if you can, moving the knees further apart, but all the time keeping the heels in line with the knees, the feet turned out, having that 90-degree angle from the ankles. Keep making those slight adjustments, maybe to come a little deeper into that groin stretch. Keep pushing into those forearms. And just hold it here for a couple of breaths. Keep connecting that Ujjayi breath, that slight audible sound in the back of the throat. Long breaths in, long breaths out. Just holding it here for another couple of breaths. Relax through the glutes, through the bum. Just try and let the pose go a little deeper if you can find it. Letting those knees come out a little further, but not trying to move the hips out of the center of the knees. One more breath here. Then come back up onto the hands. Put the weight into the hands. Bring the feet back onto the mat. Bring the knees back into the center. Sit bones towards the heels. Hands behind, forehead to the mat. And just take a moment in this forward fold. Then make your way onto your backs, swinging the legs around, bringing the sit bones into the center, the feet to the front, the shoulders to the back. Then bring the knees to a bend. Then lift the feet away, 90-degree angle from the knees, arms out to a T shape. Then let the knees drop over to your right side. Take your gaze over to your left side. Then straighten that top leg out. If you don't wish to have that top leg straight, just take a bend back into that top left leg. If the leg's straight, release that center. Bring both knees back into the middle. Use those oblique muscles to move those knees up to the center. And then take the knees over to your left side. Keep your right shoulder grounded. Take a turn of the head to the right.
maybe straighten that top leg, maybe bringing the fingers towards those big toes, and just feel that openness through the chest, the twist of the waist, the twist of the neck. Long deep breaths in through the nose, out through the nose. Then take a bend back into that knee. Bring both knees into the center. Bring the knees into the chest. And then just rock yourself up to seated. Finding an easy seated position with legs crossed, either on a block if you wish, just to elevate those hips. And we're going to find ourselves in a seated relaxation position rather than laid down today. Bring the hands on top of the thighs. Take a roll of the shoulders up towards the ears, back down towards the hips. Take a close of the eyes. Notice how that neck feels for you today. Notice whether it's stretched out, any kinks. Notice whether it feels a little stronger by switching on those muscles, moving those heads in all different planes of movement. But right now, feel that everything is stacked from the crown of the head to the base of the spine. So today I'm going to close the practice with 3 Oms and then the closing chant. Feel free to join in if you wish, or just sit in stillness and just allow my voice to resonate through your body. Take a long, deep breath in. Chate Punasya Punamadaya Punamiva Vashishate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Take a breath in, bring the hands up and over the head. Bring the palms together, bring the hands back down to the chest. Soft gaze down towards the floor. Just holding it here for a few moments to consolidate the practice you've just done. Being aware of how that body feels. Have peace in your thoughts, have peace in your words, have peace in your hearts. From my heart to yours, Namaste.